Hi guys, welcome to your practice today. This will be a nice short practice just to help you work into space like your shoulders and particularly the area around the rib cage to find a bit of movement, a bit of space in places that we can often feel quite stuck. I suggest that the prop that we have for today is a yoga strap or something similar. So it can be a scarf, it can be a resistance band, anything that has a bit of like movability and isn't something really stiff like a broom pole or something like that, for example. You'll notice that mine is in a little loop. Yours doesn't have to be by any means. It might be that during the practice I make mine longer. With that being said, before we completely start the movement part of our practice, we'll come to find a moment of stillness, a chance to arrive. So finding a comfortable seat and placing the hands down wherever is most comfortable for you. We might close the eyes or soften the gaze. And just take a moment to check in, to arrive. Particularly if we're doing this practice at home, this can be the most difficult part of the practice. Taking our mind from everything around us. That's why I like to close the eyes or soften the gaze, to take that moment to see what's going on internally. How does the body feel? Can we acknowledge that? How does the breath flow? Trying not to approach that with any form of judgment. What are our energy levels like? How do we feel emotionally? So just take notice of your starting point for today. And maybe for the next few rounds of breath, just focus on the ebb and flow of your inhales and exhales. When we're ready, we're going to allow our chin to draw down towards our chest. I invite you to keep the gaze soft with the eyes closed. And we're going to allow our lips or our face to move towards the right shoulders. If you're trying to kiss the right shoulder, hence me moving the lips in that general direction, finding this stretch along the left-hand side of the neck. Maybe then we allow our head to pendulum over towards the other side, finding a stretch on the right. Pausing here for a moment and moving in and out of this side to side movement. Sometimes I inhale as I move to one side and exhale through the middle. Inhaling to find and hold the space on the other side. Full circles are of course welcome if that's something that's in your practice, although you may find that these half circles do the job. Next time we come through center, we'll pause there, interlacing the hands and taking them on the back of the head, roughly where a ponytail would be, allowing the elbows to hang heavy down towards the ground. When we're ready, we'll inhale, allow the elbows to draw up and open as the gaze moves up and open towards the sky. Of course, the eyes can still be closed. And exhale, we're really going to actively round down here, tucking the tailbone, hugging the belly in, chin to chest, elbows down towards the ground, or almost as if they're trying to touch towards one another. Inhaling, the tailbone will lift up behind you, belly, heart open and forward, gaze more towards the sky. And exhale to round in. A couple more of these. Feel free if there's a particular place you want to hold rather than moving through the next couple rounds. Feel free to go there. And the next time we're at the top, we'll allow the fingers to separate, the elbows to draw down, the palms and the tops of the forearms to move back. So we really feel those shoulder blades drawing together and the elbows moving down. So the shoulder blades move down the back body, heart nice and open. Big inhale here. And as we exhale, bringing the hands together, one on top of the other over the heart. We're going to grab our strap now. And in fact, what I will do is take the loop out. I think I might want it a little bit longer for today. We're going to take our hands to the strap. There's no prescriptive distance for how far the hand should be. You can always shorten or expand as is required. We're going to start, you may want to hold on to the buckle, otherwise that's going to make a lot of noise and maybe accidentally hit you in the face. We're going to start by taking the arms and the strap overhead and then maybe behind the back body. How far it goes does not matter, but just be aware that the further apart your hands are, the more range you may find here. And we want this movement to come from the shoulder joint, so the rest of the body to remain reasonably still, but still thinking of when we have our inhales rising up through the crown of the head and grounding down through the sit bones. Going at your own pace. And maybe if you haven't been thinking of this as you've been doing this movement, imagine as if you're really trying to rip the strap apart the whole way through this movement. So we're starting to become a bit more active, allowing for a little bit of a building of strength in these places, which will allow us to build on our flexibility. The next time that the strap comes behind the back body, wherever that might be on the spectrum of being just behind the head to just behind the low back, we're going to start to find this little twisting movement. It may not be a massive movement at all, and it might feel quite interesting compared to a normal twist, depending where the strap is in space. You might have a play about with moving the strap slowly up and down, like your arms are going up in an elevator, and then back down in it, and notice where the twisting comes from dependent on where the hands are in space. Maybe finding areas of the body that we don't often move into. And the next time that the strap is overhead, we'll come back towards center. And we'll find a side stretch. So we're going to take our left hand down towards the left hand side of us. You may notice I'm making my strap a little bit longer so my hand touches the ground. But feel free to hover the left hand in space if you want a little bit more strengthening and activation for the core. But you still get it here even in this slightly more passive version. Finding that side stretch again, maybe thinking of reaching the strap apart, but also stretching along that right hand side body, grounding down through the right sit bone. Maybe we find an interesting movement here. I'm going to have to make my strap or where my hands are on the strap a little bit closer together to find a reaching forward and then an over, up and back. You can always have a bend in the elbow if that helps you find that little bit more space. And this is always funny to see, like where the strap wants to go, currently over my head. Also why I say to have the buckle in the hand that's on the ground, so we're not flailing it around. Any adjustments as you work into that space and find a bit more room to move. And then back up through center to find a side stretch on the other side. So it might be that here we take the end of the strap in the left hand, or I'm going to do a quick swap so it's a bit easier to make adjustments with the length of my strap when we start to move again. So finding that side stretch, sometimes I really reach that strap apart, as well as thinking of driving the hand more towards the right hand side and grounding down through the left sit bone. And maybe then we begin to find that movement of reaching the left hand more on a diagonal from the right knee, and then coming back overhead and opening up back behind us to get a bit of a stretch for the pec. As always, it may take a little bit of faffing about with the strap, changing the length, but let's be honest again, this is all an exploration practice, your yoga practice. It tells you a lot about different proportions, how you move in space. Next time we come back up through center, we'll move ourselves back to our comfortable seat, this time taking our strap in our hands but with the palms faced up, and we're going to try and keep the strap roughly shoulder width, or the hands roughly shoulder width apart. They may have to go wider as we take the arms overhead. And reaching the hands out and really ripping the strap apart with the hands, trying to keep that upright quality in the seat and not coming into that like back bend with throwing the ribs forward. We're going to start to lift the arms to go above the head. And this is where it's really important, again, not to find that back bend because the shoulders aren't doing the work, the back body is. So for me personally, I'm going to have to take the hands a little bit wider and maybe start to turn the palms slightly inward. Still ripping the strap apart, finding strength in the shoulders, the arms. Breathing here, reaching up through the crown of the head, grounding down through the sit bones, tucking the rib cage slightly in. And then gently releasing, have a little shake out of those shoulders. We're going to find our way onto all fours. The strap can move out towards the side. And I was sat on a cushion, so I'm going to pop that to the side too. Wrists roughly underneath the shoulders, just a couple wrist circles, as I always like to do when we come to this space. We aren't often necessarily on our hands and knees and working into the wrists, so any opportunity to do so is always quite welcome. And we're going to take our left hand just a little step forward so we have more room underneath the left arm. We'll use an inhale to reach those right fingertips up/out. And then an exhale to thread the right arm underneath the left. So this might take a little bit of shimmying into this space. The left hand might come quite close to the face. And if we feel like we're really, really bearing down weight onto the head, it might be that the bum's not so much over the knees, and we can always come out and readjust. That left hand, I'm going to press firmly down into it, just to help me try and move further into this little twist. Maybe as if I'm trying to take the gaze up towards the sky. Taking a few breaths here. And then pressing the left hand down. Bringing ourselves back up. I'll turn around to face the other side just for your guys' benefit. Right hand slightly forward, inhaling left fingertips up to the sky and exhaling to thread them underneath. Coming down onto the left shoulder and a space kind of above the left ear. Right hand firmly planted down the ground quite close to your face for stability and to help you move into that twist. And then placing that right hand firmly down. On all fours, we'll walk our hands forward to find a puppy pose, so a more symmetrical posture. Walking the fingertips forward, bums still above the knees, wagging that tail up to the sky, the forehead or the chin might come to the earth or a block. You might stay up on those fingertips if you want a bit more activation through the shoulders. And then an option here to place the forearms down, take the hands together above the head. You can always walk the elbows a little bit further forward. Bow the heart down towards the ground, finding a stretch for the upper arms. When we're ready, planting the hands back down, walking them back towards the body. We're going to shift our weight forward and lower ourselves down onto our bellies. So an option here, I might actually do it with the left arm out first, and then I can do it on the other side so you can see from both angles. An option here to have the left arm out straight, or you can put a bend in the elbow. I would start with the arm straight first, and then if we don't really feel much or we've got a lot of range, we can always bend the elbow instead. We're going to shift ourselves onto our left hip. It's okay if these our hips don't stack, so you can always have this right knee keeping you grounded if the hips don't want to stack or go even further back. I've got my right hand inside my body to help give me a bit of stability and structure here. This might be enough for the front of that left shoulder, or you might find yourself taking the right toes behind you, the sole of the right foot behind you. And whatever you want to do with this right arm, it can stay again for that stability close to the body, similar to when we did that twist. Or you might instead decide to bring it behind you. Some people can clasp the hands behind them. I quite like to take the hand behind the back. And finding an opening across the shoulder. And breathing here. We'll move ourselves back to center to find ourselves doing this on the other side. Here I'll have an elbow bent just for space purposes. And rolling onto our right hand side. Maybe the legs are stacked. Maybe toes, left toes behind us. Or sole of the left foot behind us. You can see here that I'm using my left hand for stability, but you could equally wrap it behind the back body. Moving ourselves back onto our bellies and coming up to a Sphinx pose. Elbows roughly underneath the shoulders. Forearms might be parallel or clasping hands, grabbing opposite elbows, all options here. Digging the elbows in, driving them towards the hip points. Pressing the hip points down towards the ground. Imagining as if you're reaching your heart through your upper arms. An interesting twist to kind of get into, or shoulder opener to get into. I'm going to take our right hand towards the left hand corner of the mat and the left hand towards the right hand corner of the mat. Now I've crossed my right arm on top, but it's completely up to you which one is on top, because we'll do both sides. It might be that you reach them further out to the side and then bowing yourself down. Sometimes I do like chin to chest and kind of rest on my arms. And again, will be that like finding out what works best for you. But feeling the sensations that brings about in the arms, the shoulders. When we're ready, we'll swap to a different arm on top. So this time I'm going to take my right arm underneath and my left arm on top. Releasing, and to finish, we're going to find ourselves a supported heart opener. So by all means, you can use a cushion here instead of a block. I'm going to take a block long ways, parallel with the top of the mat, and a little cushion behind it. The block or prop I'm going to line up with my bra strap or with the bottom of my shoulder blades if we don't wear a bra for reference. Bringing ourselves down onto it. The knees can always be bent to start. Opening up through the heart, the fronts of the shoulders, the throat. Maybe we extend the legs long. Allowing the palms to open up towards the sky. This will be our last pose of this shoulder heart opener sequence. And breathing into that space that you've elevated, that you've supported, the rib cage which houses the lungs. Feel them expand into all four directions, side to side, up and down into the block or prop. And as you exhale, feel them draw back in towards center. By all means, stay here for as long as you please. Thank you very much for joining me for your practice today. Namaste.